Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 437th episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So even though I haven't touched on this game-changing crew in a few hundred uploads now, I've been meaning to pick up the second studio full-length from Gravediggaz for a minute, and I think after my recent video where I ranked my 15 favorite Prince Paul beats, I realized I hadn't really shown much love to their 1997 sophomore LP here, the Pick, the Sickle, and the Shovel, although it likely wouldn't have shown up in that list regardless, considering Paul only did one instrumental on it, compared to 6 Feet Deep, their innovative, groundbreaking 1994 debut, which was definitely a group effort sonically, but the production was definitely kind of masterminded by Prince Paul. I'll link the previous review in the description, but this time around, it was RZA who really stepped up and took the reins for this album and the direction of its sound. And even if that gives us a slightly different product than what we received 3 years earlier, at the end of the day, RZA was already a core member of the crew, alongside Paul, Fruquan, and the late MC Poetic. And even if Prince Paul wasn't around to give this LP his signature touch, all things considered, there's really no other producer who he could have entrusted with this grimy, hardcore sound, besides the Resurrector. You also have to remember that despite Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers preceding 6 Feet Deep by a year, when the first Gravediggaz album was first being conceived, Wu-Tang Clan wasn't even put together yet, or at least hadn't formed officially. So with all the classic solo output he produced throughout 1994, 95, and 96, by the time the Pick, the Sickle, and the Shovel rolled around, we were almost dealing with an entirely different form of RZA, who was more polished, intuitive, and adventurous. While I highly enjoyed this LP and would actually maintain it was the last truly worthwhile Gravediggaz release, it doesn't often end up in the same conversations as its predecessor. And I think one of the possible downsides here is kind of the other side of the coin for what I was just praising, because even though the formula that RZA had developed at this point was virtually all but 100% successful, however, on the other hand, you could argue that in this case, the result was a product that sounded more in line with Kill Army, Kill a Priest, and a number of other Wu-Tang related acts. I could see people citing that lack of individuality as the main drawback from this thing, but I think most who have a negative perception of the Pick, the Sickle, and the Shovel are holding it in comparison to 6 Feet Deep, and while that's inevitable to some degree, at the same time I don't think we should really dwell on what an album isn't, and instead take the approach of, okay, well, if this is a more Wu-Tang sounding endeavor, how enjoyable is it in that context? And in that aspect, I would say this thing succeeds. Not only are the beats top tier pretty much all across this thing, but virtually every member stepped up as a lyricist since the group's previous endeavor, which gives us some insanely memorable verses, a couple of which I have to share, and I want to start with the standout track, The Night the Earth Cried. Starting us off, we have the late legend Poetic, aka the Grim Reaper, who starts the first verse with, "I want a queen on every continent, so I can escape the government, flee my residence, settle in. I'm militant-minded, brilliant rhyme whiz, the time is now for me to shine. Kids are innocent, blinded society gotta be reminded of my diary, 'cause tragically I carry the misery of centuries that's sent to me, not coincidentally, intentionally, 'cause mentally I represent the key. But it's a double-edged sword, see, trying to be godly is hard. Especially in poverty's backyard where violence is taken over, free enterprise and lies is idolized. 'Cause it's deep inside without Allah, God, or Jehovah to guide the lost tribe. You're forced to reside on the north side. Babylon is never penalized for being offside. So many lost lives. I wonder how long before the herd dies. Today I heard the earth cry for the first time." While Fruquan, or the Gatekeeper, kills his section in as well, the other verse I wanted to share from this track comes from RZA himself. And this is probably my favorite verse of his, maybe outside of Impossible. And he really displays how he's just as much of a lyricist as a super producer. Rapping, I came to the shores of America disguised as a peddler, the Alpha and Omega in the home of the beggars, the black settlers, who've been beaten, raped, lynched, robbed, and stoned, and called to roam the earth in service, so they couldn't maintain a home. This dates back to 1555 when they captured the first tribe of men and piled them in a pen 50 feet high and took them on the 9,000-mile ride, and landed on the shore of a place they never seen before, but read about this inside the ancient books of war. Bonded in stainless steel, stripped of their language, still survived the anguish of slavery but still remain nameless. Separated to portions and tricked by John Haughty Hawkins and sold on an auction, taught birth control and abortion, rulers of the first part became slaves of the worst part. The devils cursed God and reversed God and turned God to dog and made people search hard. Notoriety came to the prophet by W.D. Ford, taught trauma, dropped our mamas off in Bahamas and Barbados. Tobagos separated us from slave boats, made our own brothers hate us from Virgin Isle to Jamaica. Trinidad, Honduras, Haiti, Grenada, Bermuda to Cayman, mental enslavement. You black gods become awakened. While RZA masterminded the instrumentals here, there were actually a number of associated acts who helped out with the production, including Fourth Disciple, True Master, Darkim Be Allah, along with Poetic, Fruquan, and Prince Paul themselves. There's also a few guest appearances that show up on this thing, including Shabazz the Disciple, Omen, the Aline Brothers, Sons of Man, Kill a Priest, and Ninth Prince. For my overall 3 favorite tracks this time around, I would definitely have to keep The Night the Earth Cried, and I think I would have to make my other 2 Dangerous Minds and 12 Jewels. As for honorable mentions, I still want to give a shout out to tracks like Unexplained, Da Bomb, Fairy Tales, Never Gonna Come Back, Elimination Process, Repentance Day, What's Going On, and Deadliest Biz. Thank you for watching my 437th video. Next time we're actually staying within the world of Wu-Tang Clan, so check in for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this pretty solid project are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.